Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. I appreciate everybody who is tuning in today, who's listening. Again, I'm going to be solo today. Bob is taking a sabbatical, taking off a little time, getting in some vacation time, much needed. So always appreciate him. I'm going to miss him. But guys, we didn't want to stop doing this because I believe it's important that we stay on top of all of these issues and all of the subjects that we discuss on here. I believe this is a good way to inform you what's going on in the department. So the first thing I want to start off with is this is Officer Appreciation Week, I think. I want to thank all the employees, not just the officers, because it takes everybody to run a penitentiary, and we're really grateful to those officers, but we're grateful to every employee that goes out there and does an awesome job and keeps our penitentiaries as safe as they can be. We've seen that under this director become a very difficult task and and a dangerous task. And so I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. I especially appreciate those of you that send me emails, that send me messages, text. I know several of you have created fake names that you contact me on Messenger. I want to encourage everybody. If you want to create a fake name, it doesn't matter. I'm happy to answer you and that you remain anonymous. But I've got several people who are doing that with me, and man, I appreciate the information. You're bringing that information straight to. I got some today that was just pretty enlightening on stuff that are going on. I've gotten a bunch of stuff how reports are being falsified, criminally, I might add. And again, I think that we can possibly use that information to work off of. We get out of this legislative session. I'll work to see if we can't get something built on that where the department is falsifying a lot of records. And again, I appreciate the information. I appreciate those that have informed me on the PREAs that are being doctored and not being reported, and being reported as just injuries and not PREA. And we're going to work on that. I want to tell y'all that we were able to prove, if y'all want to look at that, Frontier ran an article where they showed that while the director was in one of our committee hearings on actual rapes, on PREA incidents, that he actually said that they had the top, PREA, that they were one of the top in the nation, that they were the gold standard, that the auditor had told them that they were the gold standard. Well, according to Frontier, they interviewed that auditor, and the auditor said it violates policy for them to say that. And so we were able to catch that. That means that we caught the director in a flat lie. So we're in a PREA, we're in a rape committee. That's what we're studying. Are they covering up rapes? The director comes in and makes these comments, making it seem like they are really on top of all these rapes and that they have the gold standard, when we now know that was a flat ass lie. And again, that's perjury in my book when you come into a committee and you're testifying in front of that committee. And again, I asked the AG, and the AG said, no, we're not going to pursue that. Surprise, surprise. The AG didn't investigate the rapes. We were able to prove that in that hearing. The AG didn't investigate the whistleblower. We were able to prove that in the hearing. And then we had the director come in and lie about that. And so, again, I think that's huge. I think that I believe all of this is piling up on the director, and I believe it will eventually catch up. And that's going to just jump us in to the thing that I think will be the Achilles heels for this director. I think this is going to be what is going to end up getting the director, and that's the purchase of Lawton Correctional Facility. So one of the first things is how does a director work for 3 years and never go into one of your largest private prisons? My understanding, he's never stepped foot into this facility. So that's a little mind-boggling that you can have a director, and you got to take this in full understanding, because we've made a big issue out of him going all over the countryside and him going to all of these big meetings. The last one that we made a big issue was on the Vera Institute of Justice, Vera Institute of Justice. Google it up. I had some people sending me some stuff on that this morning. Super great, very big into the Black Lives Matters, one of these social justice programs that are the woke agenda, Soros based, all of that. I was reading that. Thank you for the person that sent me that this morning. One of those people I was talking about that messaged me, sent me a huge amount of information on the Vera Institute. None of it good. I mean, why would a Republican state with a Republican governor have a director who is supposed to be a good friend of his appointed, work for him? You know what I'm saying? And this guy is going out to the wokest of the woke and trying to brag about being in that. That's sad. That is sad all day long. Why do we even tolerate that? Why would the Republican-led, legislators, senators, House of Representatives, why would they tolerate that? It just blows my mind for our leadership to talk about we're the red state, we're all this. And then you've got this director who is like double down, purple, blue, whatever you want to call it, hanging out with all of these George Soros groups. And a George Soros groupie is what he is, So again, he's running all over, getting into those programs, spending huge amounts of money, and never goes into my understanding to this prison in a 3-year period of time. And then he's going to talk about purchasing the prison. How do you even talk about purchasing a prison when you don't even step foot in it, when you've never stepped foot in it? That's it's outstanding. It's unbelievable that we can have such incompetence. And again, it's arrogance. That's what it is. It's arrogance that he doesn't think that he has to. And what's funny, I guess he's right, because he's going to pull off the biggest scam that I've seen, that I've been involved in around Department of Corrections in quite some time. I've seen some pretty big scandalous things in the Department of Corrections, but I believe this will probably take the cake of what I've seen in quite some time. So here's what he's done. He's purposely, I think, and again, I can't say say I know what he's thinking, but I can tell you what he's done, and I can tell you that it's pretty easy to figure out what he's doing and what he's thinking, at least in what I believe. So I'm going to tell you what I believe he's thinking, okay? And so here's the thing. The governor came out, Harpe come out, and they belittled, they tore down. You remember when the governor came out and said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And he said that Lawton prison was terrible. Okay, you remember that? Now, I want to remind you, at the time that you had Hinton, you had Alan Gamble, and you had Dick Connors that were equally as bad. I mean, you couldn't have, it'd been, in fact, I remember one of our shows that we talked about that it would be like a horse race. It would be like a photo finish to figure out which one of those prisons were the worst one at the time, just depending on what week it would have been. But they come out and acted like Lawton was terrible. Lawton was no worse than any of these others. But they come out and said they were not going to contract. But in the end, they end up making a 1-year contract. Now, at that time, when they made that 1-year contract, they knew that they had 12 months to figure out what are they going to do with the inmates at Lawton. So there's about 2,300. Now, I find it particularly interesting that you can come out and say, this is a terrible facility. They're not doing a good job. But then you take and you put all of your mental health inmates, even though this is not a mental health facility, and you take many mental health, and I'm talking some, they're rated. So what you do is they have an assessment, and they got an A and a B and a C and I think C2. I won't swear on exactly. I think it's A, B, C, and C2. C2 being you're really like psycho killer crazy, I think they dumped over 200 something in there, if I'm not mistaken. hard to find out on all these numbers. I'm always trying to work and go off of numbers. But when you have a agency that's supposed to be a public agency, I am a state elected official. Open records does not really apply to me because guess what? I'm in their executive staff, really, in their executive line. That means we decide their salaries, we decide the incomes, we decide all of that, except for Harpe. He gives himself a $90,000 raise, embezzles a little money, and nobody will do anything. But all the rest of it, the legislators are supposed to be in that chain. Now, in the past, that's the way it's been. Now, Harpe will go over and get a $100,000 headquarters and not get legislative approval, and that's okay. And so you get a raise, you get legislative, or you get a headquarters for over $1 million, and yet no legislative approval. So he's been the master of getting around the legislator. Now, anybody else wouldn't have got away with that, but since he's in tight with the governor, I guess he can do his thing, but nobody holds him accountable. I've tried to hold him accountable, but our legislators have made agreements with them not to hold them accountable. And we're going to, hey, Harpe, I'm pretty certain I'll be filing that lawsuit. My lawyers were a little delayed, so we're a little late getting out of the box, but I'm hoping to have that lawsuit filed on you pretty quick. So, again, nobody else will hold him accountable. I'm going to try to hold him accountable. If the government won't do it, I will try to do it by myself. And so, again, here we have him, another attempt to go around the legislator. It looks like he got it done again. So he's dumping all of these mental health people on this prison to make it a high risk, to make it a prison that you don't want to turn these inmates out. Now, that's what it looks like because that's what he did. He dumped all these people. Now, it's not a question, did he do that? The question is, why did he do it? So you can speculate on the why, but it's not speculation on whether he did it. He did it, but the why, did he do it as leverage to try to make sure that he can get this prison purchased? And so what he did, him and the governor had 12 months. They knew it was coming, but they did absolutely nothing. You didn't hear anything. I'm writing legislators. I came on here. I'm writing legislators throughout the session saying, hey, guess what? And what's funny, I came out with the bill to say, let's rename the Department of Corrections the Department of Corruption. Now, a lot of people got mad about that, but guess what? We're finding out when he embezzles $90,000, when he gets a headquarters unapproved by the legislators, that's over $1 million. Guess what? When he's got uniforms that are over $1 million, when his own employees can't get uniforms. These are big issues that should be discussed. But here we are on this big issue where they know that this is going to happen in 12 months. And guess what? Not a peep. Me writing the legislators saying this is going to happen. Me coming out and saying they're corrupt and here's why. And let me be a prophet. I'm going to predict what they're going to do. I've been predicting for some time that they're going to pull this up right to the and they've already done it because we're here. We're in May. Contract is set to be done June the 30th. Okay. If we don't have an agreement to purchase this June the 30th, we're going to have them prisoners out. Now, that's what I understand. But guess what? They're going to make an agreement to purchase it because guess what? We don't have it. We don't have the ability to say no. What are we going to do? We're going to turn 2,300 high-risk mental health inmates out on the street? No, we're not going to do that. And so guess what? Harpe has leveraged the legislators to keep their mouth shut. They're not going to do anything. Now, what's funny, he had went back and been working on trying to get them to approve the money. I don't think that's going to happen. I really thought that he'd probably get them in a tight and leverage them, make them do it. They pretty balked on that. But here's what's funny. What I've told them, they're going to go over there and they're going to say it's an emergency. And they're going to pull the money out of the emergency funds. So the governor will pull the money out of the emergency funds and they just bypass the entire legislative process. So again, nobody, guess what? We don't really care about the legislators. Y'all just over there do your thing. We don't need you. I'm an unelected bureaucrat. I will do what I want to do, and I will bypass the legislators. And our leadership will sit on their ass and let him get away with it. Now, I'm going to tell you, if I was in control and I was in leadership and he did that, I would demand, Director Harpe, if I was in leadership, you'd been gone already. So I would demand that he be fired. I would demand that he be terminated for doing these kind of things. And again, it's easy. If y'all want to terminate him, I hope some legislators might be listening. But if they wanted to terminate him, he has embezzled money. He has gotten that headquarters without approval. And now he's going to do a $314 million end around, bypass the legislator, and so he created his own emergency. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is an emergency that's self-created. It's a self-created emergency, so that it's an emergency that's brought about by them keeping their mouth shut, doing absolutely nothing, with the intent that they'll get down here and guess what? Y'all ain't going to have any choice. And that's exactly, I mean, here's the deal. You got to give him credit. I'll give you credit, Director. You got her done. I mean, it ain't done yet, but I can almost guarantee you that there's no other choice that we have. You have stuck us in such a terrible, terrible position. You have done the unthinkable, that we have no other option but to pay. And again, I'm not saying, I haven't toured that prison. And so I hear some issues with the prison. I have not priced what a 2,300 bed capacity prison would cost to build. It may cost more than 314. I'm not saying that that's not a good deal. Maybe that is a good deal. I can tell you that I would be sitting down with those people, and we would have worked this out many moons ago. This has been something we've been working together and working on. I think Geo has probably been a decent partner, from what I hear talking to all of them. They've been the one to work with them and to try to help us when we're in binds, is what I understand. Now, again, how much have we given them? We'd have to look at. But I will tell you this, when we're talking about doing this purchase, so it looks like it's going to happen. So let's just talk about what happens when this does happen. So let's look at Hinton. When we took over Hinton, which is still owned by Geo, which we'll be turning right around and having the same problem set in our lap. That's the comical part about this. We're going to turn around and have another 2,300 size facility. And again, has he done anything to start talking about fixing that issue or what we're going to do? Do you hear him making any plans on all of the elderly and medical problems that we have? Do you hear him making any plans on all the mental health people that we have? There's all kinds of things that we could do to address these issues that are big issues in corrections. And maybe he's just great about keeping them quiet. But if he has, I have not seen them. I've not seen action on them. Some of them, I say that I have talked to people that I know they've discussed some of the ideals that I have. I was responsible for taking them to one place and showing them, hey, we could do this. Here's the ideal, boom, boom, boom. And guess what? That has been years ago, and it's still not done, which will tell you, that if they are going to do it, boy, they're terrible. They're terrible at making a plan and carrying a plan out. And a good example of that is Hinton. When they purchased Hinton, they didn't purchase it when they leased it. They bring people in there. I know this for a fact. I talked to a guy recently who was part of this move. And again, they said, hey, we're going to give you 6 months to get this facility up and into standard to handle people. And they actually got 2 weeks is what I understand. Start bringing inmates in when they're not, they've got crews out there trying to replace electric. because they'd closed off a lot of the electric because the groups that had that before didn't need all that. They had it set up different. And so now the idea was with Hinton, I believe, based off my conversations with people who were right there when all this happened, that DOC was like, yeah, we're going to bring in 4 to a cell on these 8-man cells. Well, 4 to a cell wouldn't be as bad as 8 stuffed in there. And then they were going to get all the electric and all the food and all of those things ready to go. Well, they didn't have any of that ready to go. It was a daggum, Chinese fire drill. It was a mess. It was a mess. And so again, we saw that. We saw people lose their life because of that. We saw the incident on the showers, which, by the way, I now have a person that no question will come forward and will confirm that all of that there wasn't any lies. The lies are the Department of Corrections lied about this shower incident, lied about the human rights violations, purposely covered it up. We're going to be able to prove that. I'm no question on that, no doubt on that. And so again, the thing about it is that it was just a disaster. It's a disaster. When they opened Hinton, it was a disaster. Okay. And they bring people in, and I know 2 people that were basically not part of that plan that were called in to say, fix it, just get it done, fix it. And you know what? People can be mad at this one or mad at that one, but you got to understand the stress that people are at. I mean, when you throw somebody in a mess like that and just go, you're responsible, you fix the problem, that's an impossible situation. And so that's where these people were at. They were given an impossible situation. They did good in the situation they had. Yes, we can question some, and we can question how this was done or that was done. But at the end of the day, you know what? They made it work. People died. And again, everybody was trying to make sure that didn't happen. I think most people were trying. Again, we can look at, there are some bad operators in there. We know that. I have testimony on some pretty bad operators there at Hinton. But, I think for most part, most of our staff are people who are trying to get it done and are great people. And without them, I will just hats off how in the world we've even kept the prison from the whole system not burning down, because it's not one place. This director the biggest disaster. You can always have one facility. This has been spread across the board. He has created problems in places I never even dreamed that you would have problems. And so again, he was a disaster when we look at him. When we look at Alan Gamble, on the first day they dedicate the prison to the guy who got stabbed earlier. And guess what? On the day not only the day, right at the time they're fixing to dedicate that, an officer gets stabbed. And again, it's been a cover up ever since. It has been a cover up on how many officers have been assaulted. They try to cover everything up, the murders, all that kind of stuff. It's just been a big scam. And again, my understanding is there at Allen Gamble and several other places that the inmates are running the show. So the inmates are in total control. And that's what I hear at multiple prisons. Inmates in total control. And so again, the question is, he's pulled off a scam. He's created his own emergency. He's going to probably get this prison purchased, it looked like, by creating an emergency that legislators can't get out of, and that the governor's going to use some special funds to purchase. So they pulled that hoodoo off. Okay, but then here comes a bigger challenge. Can you take that prison over and run it? Can you do that? Because we've seen what you did at Hinton. We've seen what you did at Allen Gamble. And guess what? It was a disaster. If you want to go back and pull the year before how many deaths they had at Allen Gamble and pull the deaths that they had the year that they took them over. And guess what? It's a nightmare. I mean, the numbers, if you look at the numbers, now he's really good Director, I'll give you credit, man. You are maybe the most masterful person I've ever seen at changing phrases, changing numbers, having ambulances that's attended, unattended. If you've worked in prison for a long time, worked around DOC, what the crud are we talking about? Attended, unattended. I'm looking at that, and I really believe what he's trying to do is get those people out of that prison so that they can say, nope, they didn't die in the prison. They died out here. Well, that's okay. That's fine. But again, you're messing with crime scenes and all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of argument in that if the person's already dead. Now, if the person is in need of medical help, absolutely, we call an ambulance. We try to save their lives. That's what we do. But if the person's dead, been dead for a minute, why are you going to call an ambulance in? That's my understanding of what's being done. And then you're going to call it attended or whatever, again, and who's paying for that ambulance and all those kind of things. So many costs involved in that. And so, again, is that what, I'm trying to look into, is that what is happening so that he can claim, different numbers? And I think that's probably what it is. I'm looking into that. And again, the walkaways, we always talk about the walkaways. We always talk about, group disturbances and all of these things and how they change these numbers of what's going on. I will tell you that it blows my mind. I'm getting called and they're saying they're back to taking pens away, positions away from our prisons. Now, here we are at an incredible staffing issue. That's what I would say would be the number one. We got to take care of this Lawton issue, but behind the Lawton issue, the number one critical issue in the Department of Correction is our staffing levels. Staffing levels are unbelievable, but yet what are they doing? We're going to call positions back. And now think about this. We're already been on loan trying to get officers over here, officers over there. Now we're going to get Lawton. And is the staff going to stay? I don't know. I'm hearing some won't stay. Okay. I'm hearing some don't want to work for the state. So again, if you lose staff there, I don't know whether they're shorthanded. I know that it's difficult to get presently in most places. And so again, it would not surprise me that they're a little bit short staffed there. And then if people quit, then that's really going to put you in hole. And if you take on another 2,300 bed facility, again, I look at OSP and they have about 152, I think, for 800. Again, that's a totally locked down facility. Okay, so maybe we wouldn't have to have 152 per 800. But again, you're looking at, you got closer to triple that amount. So you're looking at probably, neighborhood of 400 officers. I don't know exactly how many it take, 300 to 400. And again, are you going to have 300 to 400? And if you don't have that, how do you plan to run this place? And guess what? You're waiting till the last second to even talk about purchasing it. What kind of plans? You know what I'm saying? I would have started at the year laying out my plans of how to purchase, of whether that is a good purchase. I'd have had bids to show that here's what it would cost to build. Here's the same type, apples to apples. Here's how we're going to staff. Here's how we're going to do this. Here's the way it's all going to lay out. Guess what? And he may have those. I can tell you that he just met with the House the other day. I can tell you none of that was made available to my understanding. It's amazing. I called for that meeting and it just happened to be the day that I was taking my son to join the military. I missed one day this year, and that was to take my son to get sworn into the military. And I'm going to tell you something, if I had to miss, I would not have missed that for the world. I'm going to tell you, whole new, this old dad's got a whole new respect for people who go to the military, because I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't have believed that I would be an emotional person. I'm generally not too an emotional person, but to put my son, to watch him walk across there, he got swore in, walk across that stage and leave, and me knowing I ain't gonna get seen for quite some time. Oh, it was a gut punch. I mean, it was a gut punch, but I wouldn't have missed it for the world, and I'm glad that I went. So again, they had the director there. I gave them a list of questions to ask the director, and again, they did ask these questions. But I think that I wished I would have been there. I would have liked to ask them in a different way. He got the softball pitches, I bet, and I would have tried to throw down straight down the plate because I would have been asking the questions that we're talking about. Do you have a plan? What is your plan? Did you look at? And here's the deal: this is the kind of stuff you see as a legislator. You ask, well, did you check into building a new facility? Yeah, it costs too much. And then they let it go. Okay, it costs too much. No, they should be asking, what size of facility did you look at? What level? Was it maximum, high, medium, low, medium, was it minimum? What level of prison? What size of prison? There's all kinds of stuff that we could be talking about, the new technologies, cameras, AI. We're talking right now, and I really have left what he's trying to do with the AI out because I'm trying to get educated on that before I go to talking. I'm going to tell you, I don't know much about it. I think that it could be some great stuff. I think he's on to something that could be very useful. But again, it's not going to take the place of officers. You have to have, it could help reduce some of what you need, but it's not going to take the place, and you can't get rid of all of these officers and think that AI is going to fix all of that, at least in today's level. Now, that in the future, I could see where, hey, you may have a totally AI man prison with one or two people running, it's who knows in the future what we're going to see prisons look like. But at today's level, you're not. And so again, for him to, what did he offer? What did he, I would want to know, okay, we own a lot of land. You shouldn't have had to purchase your land. We've got land there in McAllister that we could use. We got land there at Harpe and Lexington that you could use. All kinds of lands all over that could have been, used to build these facilities on. If not, then tell us why not. Tell us what you looked at, and so many things go into that. And so again, he didn't answer any of those questions. I wasn't there to ask those. So again, what he's done, he's offered no plan. He's offered nothing that anybody can see. And I'm going to suspect, based on, and this is what I'm basing it on, I'm not just speculating here. When I do something, I try to base it on facts, base it on verified information. So based on what I've watched him do with Hinton, based on what I watched him do with Alan Campbell, I can tell you this joker ain't got a plan. I can tell you that if he's got a plan, I will smooth fall out of my chair, and I'll be the first one. And director, I give you credit when we talk about AI. I give you credit that is something that I think we should be looking into, and I think we should be examining. And I give you credit on that. You lie about how good the body cams are, but I do believe that body cams could be very useful and could be something that could be used in the right way. And again, we have to have respect for our officers who are wearing those, and give them time away for that, and give them time to have private conversations, go to the bathroom, those kind of things. But again, I think it could be a useful tool. So I don't disagree with you on that. So there are some things that not very many, but if you do something good, I will try to say it's good. But when you do something bad, which is pretty much most of the time, I don't see a whole lot of stuff. You are a disaster. You really are. So again, on this, if you got a plan, I will be shocked. And I hope, and Lord help us, I hope you have a plan. Because, Director, I don't know if you know this and if you've noticed this, People get raped, people get extorted, and people get murdered because of you, because you do not have a plan. While you're running around partying all over the United States, going out with your little woke groups, trying to be, somebody big in the George Soros crowd, people are dying, people are getting raped, people are getting extorted, and many people are leaving because they don't want to work in a place like you have created in this environment. And again, I have some plans that we could bring back people. I've got a really good way that I believe we would be able to put back our workforce, draw people back into the penitentiary workforce with experience. That would be what's important, is experience. But again, we're going to have to get a different governor. They're never going to put me in a place where I can get that done. So we're going to have to wait until a new governor is elected. And then based on the governors that we get elected, because I can tell you 2 of them probably don't want anything to do with me, because they don't want people who would actually do and call out the issues and actually fix the problem. They're not looking for that. They want to keep the problem. When we're talking about corrections, when we're talking about all the problems in the criminal justice whole community, whether it's probation pro, whether it's in the court system, again, they turn a blind eye and they let it all continue. We have a very, 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 very corrupt system, and they don't want to get called out on that. And that's going to lead me to the next thing. We're broke, I believe, so we're talking about taking this over when we can't. Right now, I'm being told they can't get supplies, can't get uniforms, order stuff. I was told that even on the officer appreciation, that they're taking all of those things out of y'all's own funds. What y'all pay in for officers' funds there, that they're taking that out to feed you donuts or feed you, some meal that they're doing officer appreciation. So they're so broke that they're getting your money to appreciate you with. If that's true, that's almost comical. You know what I'm saying? That just tells you who they are. So again, I'm telling you from what I'm being told and what I can see, they're broke. So trying to take over a massive, 2,300 is a huge, huge prison. 2,300 of some of your most mental health. Guess what? And this guy's going to lead the charge to make a plan to take that over. Oh, I'm scared to death. I really am. I am very, very concerned over all this. And I would tell you, them covering up, I just want to remind y'all, in September, I came out with the case that I am 100% certain that they were trying to cover up a murder. That's what I 1,000% believe that. Okay. And again, it's not based on, I just willy-nilly think this. It's based on, I have their own investigations. I have documented what they were going to do. I can show you that they did not go out and file a murder in that case until I asked for records. And I purposely waited over 30 days to ask for records to see if they would file charges. I waited. And then when I asked for the records on that case 2 days later, so I asked, I think on the 19th, and October 21st, they filed that. I've got all that documented. So it's not speculation. That's documented. Now they can say, well, that's just how long we didn't. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just telling you that you went 30 Sherlock Holmes. It does not take when you had 2 people in a cell. There were only 2 people. One's beat to hell, and the other one, is in there alive. It does not take Sherlock Holmes. Now, here's what's funny. They didn't investigate. I can guarantee you they didn't investigate how that young man got in that cell. And was there some wrongdoing in him being placed in that cell? They did not check to see if there was lies in those stories, because I can tell you, I'm pretty certain there are lies in that story. And I know how, and again, if I was investigating, I'm pretty certain I could prove that. And if we get to go to court on that in a civil, I'm pretty certain I'll be called to the stand to show that those were lies. And so I think we'll be able to prove that. But what happened in this case, I saw that they were going to do a prison write-up on this murder. Now, that's what I believe. They were going to do a prison write-up. Now, that's not me thinking. I've got the record to show that's what they said was going to be done. That's why I waited 30 days to see, is that what y'all was going to do? You're not even going to file murder. Then I asked, boom, then they go out and file murder. Okay, that got me speculating. That got me wondering. So what I did, I know a lot of prisoners around the whole system. And so I got a hold of some people, and I got some names, and I wanted to pick one facility. So here's what I did. I picked Allen Gamble because we know Allen Gamble has a lot of deaths. We know that's a gladiator shop right there. You know what I'm saying? So I picked that one. Another reason I picked that one is because it's in a small county. So when you're looking at Hughes County, you're not going to have a truckload of deaths occurring in Hughes County. Where you're going to have the majority of deaths occurring at Hughes County is right there in that prison. Okay, so here's the deal. I picked that so that I could go down there and use like a 2-year period and go down there and pull all the murders and see. So what I did, I got 29 names from Allen Gamble, who died in less than, I'd say, 18-month period. I think it's 18-month period. Okay, I because the Department of Corrections will not help me. I have to speculate on some of this stuff, but I've got a good way of how I based my speculation. It's not just based on what I think; it's based on what I know. But anyways, these murders these deaths occurred within about an 18-month period. Okay, so what I did, I took these 29 names. I had the names. I had the DOC numbers. I put all of that together, and then I sent that to the medical examiners, who are some pretty helpful people. I sent that over to them and said, can you give me a list of how many of these were ruled homicides? Now, I got the list back, and it turns out that half of them were undetermined. So that means they're still pending, okay? So roughly, I'm going to say 12 or 13. I'd have to look at the list. 12 or 13, still pending. Okay, then you had about I'm going to say 8 that were ruled homicide. Not say it. There was 8 that was ruled homicides. I know that, and then the rest of them, whatever that number was, is roughly ODs. So there may have been a few naturals, but most of the rest were overdoses. And again, let's park that for a second. If you want to kill somebody in prison, overdose them, because they ain't going to check it. That's a freebie right there. So you got all these people overdosing, which is a whole nother conversation on why is all these drugs and all the phones and all this getting into our prisons, because we're short-staffed. It's a big answer, but here's where we're at. I got the 8 deaths. So I got 8 homicides. I got the names of the offenders that were killed in these murders. And so again, what I sent to the department was, hey, I'd like to have the investigations. So I want to see the investigations. Now, guys, I worked for the prison system for quite some time. I have been involved in the prison system for over 35 years. You know what I'm saying? I have been the chairman of corrections. I was working extremely. In fact, when Ted Woodhead was there, man, I could call Ted up and run over and look at, I looked at many investigations. Ted was awesome. Take me in there and say, hey, here you go, whatever you need. Worked with me, super. I got no complaints on Ted. Okay, so here's the thing. Now I can't get nothing. But I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna quick show you some stuff so that nobody be able to read what I'm going to show you. But I'm going to quickly show you what they sent. They sent me 7. They may have sent 8. I can only count 7. Maybe I've missed one. But here's what we got. And I'm gonna just show that to where you can't read it. But I'm just showing you what's redacted. I'm just showing y'all what's redacted. You're not going to be able to tell much, except that you can see the whole dang report is redacted. Now, that's hilarious, because as I started, I'm in the chain of command. I can go into their executive meetings. I can go in there again, I'll just hold this one upside down where you can see, boom, look at that. Look how much redacted out of that. Again, redaction. But here's what's funny is that these scumbucks are so stupid that they think that I even think that that's here's the deal. It's an incident report summary. It's not the investigation. The investigation would say that, this inmate was found at such and such time. This inmate was, basically that room should have been sealed or whatever should have been sealed, which I can tell you, the one I just got through looking at, they didn't, in 15 minutes, they moved the person, which was, wow, what in the world are you doing? When I looked through that investigation, it was just dumbfounding how piss poor a terrible investigation was run, and they did the whole thing within a couple of hours. Amazing, but they did document. Okay, here's the person found dead. Here's what they did. Here's what they called. The warden shows up. The OIG investigator shows up. The medical examiner shows up. The body was released. Here's what was done. Blah blah blah. Okay, so again, that's the investigation. Yes, piss poor, but at least it was an investigation. Okay, these that they're handing me are, again, it's not the investigation. It's not the OIG investigation report. I can tell you that's not what these are. These are incident reports. Now, it took them a month and a half to get this to me. A month and a half to get me 8 reports that were already done, that were not the reports I asked for, that are redacted. Now, here's what's funny. Somebody gets killed. We just had a murder right here in Lane, Oklahoma. And guess what? You can go to the court and you start looking at if somebody gets arrested. You can go up there and see who was arrested. It'll be in the paper. All of this stuff is public knowledge. Now, guess what? You can pull up any inmate and you can look on offender lookup and you can get their date of birth. You can get their DOC number. It should have a picture. You can get what they're in there for, because guess what? It's public knowledge. They were arrested. It went to court. It's all public knowledge. Now, here's these crackerheads. These crackheads at administration. Looky here. They're blocking out what times things happen. Like it's top secret stuff. Okay, their names, DOC numbers, race, age. They don't even tell you who was the one that was suspected of assaulting, And again, these should be crimes that they've already, I know there are some crimes that you can't commit. That you can't, there may be a murder that we cannot solve. So there may be some unsolved murders that occur in prison. But normally, I can tell you, based on my experience, we were normally able to pretty quick prove who done it. We were usually pretty quick on getting it all resolved, knowing who was. If you're doing your jobs, if you got cameras up, if you got officers who know who's having the problems, who's over the games, what was going on, and generally you'll have your fair share of snitches. And so again, it's generally not that hard to prove what's going on. And for them to send me this trash director, my gosh, are you such a joke? And here's what's funny. Let me tell you something, director. And Deidre, you sent this to me, and whoever y'all had prepare it. Let me tell you what's funny is that I'm sitting here laughing because guess what? I can go out and get this information. I can get this information, okay? But here's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to send me what you sent me, because I want to go to court with you, and I want to go, I'm in your chain of command. I'm an elected official. I can walk into your executive office and look at the trash that you sent to me. This is who you are. This is what you do. You're not in the CIA. You're not some great individual you think you are. You're a public servant. You answer to the legislator, even though you're a crook and you crooked around, but I'm going to try to hold you accountable. And you answer to us, the legislator. You answer to the people, not you, not your own little This ain't your own little pocketbook where you spend. That's what you've been doing. You've been buying yourself cool little uniforms and making yourself look like a general. You look like a joke. You've been using to fly around and have parties on, and that's a joke. You've been going to your woke little party groups and getting that while everything's going to hell. And it is time you get held accountable. And I'm certainly going to try. And again, I will guarantee you, yes, I've been pounded on. I've been pounded on and pounded on. And I've been made out to be a troublemaker, been made out to be somebody that just, is crazy and just makes up stuff. But the problem is I don't make up stuff. I very well document. I send stuff to you so that you will do something ignorant and send me back and just show how ignorant. Because guess what? That right there is going to show how disrespectful, how ignorant you really are. And guess what? It's also going to show, you know what this verifies, Director? This verifies you got something to hide. When you will not release public information to a public official who's in your chain, and you send this trash and you send this joke, it's not even the investigation. Anybody that's been around knows this is not the investigation. Anybody that's been around knows this is public information. Anybody that's been around knows that you don't redact all of that stuff. You're not the CIA director. And again, this is going to be the stuff that's going to bite you in the butt. Now, that's what's going to be. And again, I want to let everybody know, I believe that he is covering up murders, and I believe I've got them right here, because guess what? The next step is go down to that county. That's why I picked a small county. That's why I picked Hughes County, because now I can go down there. I can look at these deaths. I can see where they actually filed. And if they were filed, then I'll continue to work. Maybe I'm wrong. But when I get a report like this, it makes me think I'm really, really right. But I will go down and I will see, have these murders been properly filed? And if they have not, how many haven't been? And then we'll go to the point, are these unsolved murders? But can I get a witness when you have 1,700 inmates and you have 29 deaths in less than a year and a half? You got a problem, okay? You got a problem when the average age is not going to be 70 in there. You're going to have an average age of probably below 40. So you got young people dying at the rate of 29. Now, the national average, according to the National Health Institute, is 1.4 per every 1,000. So if we're talking about 1,700, let's just say two would be a little bit high, but you shouldn't have more than 2 deaths per year. So if we went 2 years, you ought to have, on national average, 4 people dying. We're talking about 1,700 a year and a half and 29 people dying. Go do that math. Director, you're supposed to be good at math. Do the math. What's that figure out? I mean, 27% or how much more? I mean, it's unreal numbers. It's unreal numbers that we have a death rate that is what? Even if we said 4, take 4 off, that's what, 25 more than the national average, and we're giving an extra 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So we're being very conservative if we say 4, and he's had 25 in that time period, more over and above at just that one prison. At just that one prison. And again, we're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm looking into this. The reason I want to share that with you guys is I started off by thanking the people who are sending me these verifications. Guys, you can talk to me. You can tell me about your reports. I appreciate all that. I'll try to get back with you. I've covered up with reports coming in. But man, if you can give me the information, I had somebody send me today all this stuff on the Vera Institute of Justice. That was awesome. I've got people telling me, hey, look over here, look at this. Here's how you get this. Got a rape deal today that is horrific that they're going to try to cover up and call it just an incident. We're looking into that. So again, guys, if y'all can give me those kind of information, help me, get me some verification. It's time we take it to this director. It's time we get our institutions back. It's time to hold this guy accountable. And again, I believe that he may be really, when you look at human rights, when you look at the embezzlement, I think there's things in there that would be on a criminal level. I think, again, I'm not going to say yes or no right now, but I would say it certainly warrants investigation. It certainly warrants that the governor should be calling for an outside investigation right now to come in and actually determine where we are as the Department of Corrections. And again, whoever takes over for this clown, director, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. Whoever takes your place, oh man, they better find somebody who knows corrections, because it's going to take a lot to pull this. I don't know if you guys have been stuck very much, but what you learn is when you're getting stuck, stop. Quit digging a hole, quit digging your hole, and especially if you're in that quicksand mud, get out and go get you something, pull it out. It's much easier. Hey, we're bottomed out, man. I mean, this is one of them when you're stuck, you step out and you step right on flat ground, or you're having to step up to get out of the hole. That's where we are with this director. We're in a deep, deep hole that's going to be hard to fix. I believe it can be fixed. I've got a lot of ideas how to fix it. I think there's some great things that we could do. We could change. We could still be one of the top places to look at, and just take a little bit more work because of the hole he's put us in. But I hope that the governor will consider trying to find somebody that can run this place and turn this ship around. But I appreciate everybody listening today. I know I go really quick, but I've got so many things that we try to cover and that we try to get in this hour. And again, if you are somebody who has information that can get it verified to me, get a fake name, get on Messenger, get with me, call me. I can keep you confidential. Whatever you need. I'm not going to try to burn anybody. We're needing actual verification where I don't need you. I need the verification, and we will go out. But we're fixing to try to file a lawsuit against them, me personally, on that. Hope that happens pretty quick. I thought that would happen roughly. I got the stuff in about March 13th, 14th. And again, it's taken us this long to make up our mind that that's what we're going to do. I've got some lawyers that have to, this not depend on me. It's depend on them. They have to go forward. Once I got it done and passed it off to them, now I'm dependent on them. We will see if they file it. I hope they do. It's going to call everyone into accountability, not just the governor. It's going to call, the speakers, the pro tems, the AG, and of course this director, and possibly DHS directors and OJA and OCCY. So it's going to be possibly quite a few that are going to be called on the carpet to verify all the stuff that I've documented and show the horrific issues that have been completely ignored, covered up, and the agreement that were made to cover this up. And so again, it's not just that they turned a blind eye. No, they participated in stopping me from getting it done. So I hope you'll stay tuned. I hope y'all will get involved. Hey, last thing, I want to tell you that Merritt Protection bill did pass the Senate. Harpe had us pulled out, so that bill did pass the Senate. It's on its way to the governor, but you need to make sure that you are aware that Harpe cut you out of that Merritt Protection bill, and it did pass. So again, I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty angry over that. So I'll leave it on that note, and we'll bring back next week and tell you what's going on, keep you updated what's going on. I want to tell you, I appreciate every one of you in staff, every one of you officers. Y'all are awesome, and we thank God